Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant in Buchanan is seeking to extend its operating license for 20 years. Critics of the plant cite safety and environmental concerns. Opponents, however, say that closing the plant would leave the region with without a critical source of electricity, and there also is a serious financial cost, and certainly it employs some 1,200 workers. Mr. Kaplowitz, you said you do favor dismantling Indian Point.
I favor converting Indian Point.
Okay, converting Indian Point.
Yes,
so please tell us your plan for addressing the concerns about the energy and also the economic impact.
Right. Yeah, Indian Point is more of an energy question than anything else. If Indian Point closed tomorrow, the CEO of Entergy has said rates would go up 5 to 8%. Not the significant Armageddon, but still significant nonetheless. The NRC and the operator are the only two that can impair their license. They're going to make a decision, and there's this fight about closed or open loop systems in terms of the water and the destruction of the Hudson. Once they settle that, they're going to decide together, and the NRC will or will not. The likelihood is that the license is probably going to be renewed. And I have felt all along and studied all along that you could convert that facility to a natural gas plant, as they did out at Fort St. Vrain in Platteville, Colorado, keep the jobs, keep the taxes, and keep the power flowing. But if, in fact, NRC relicenses and they continue, my job is to make sure it's as safe as possible, the evacuation plan works as much as possible. We need the power, we need the jobs, we need the taxes, but we need to get away from those kind of fuels. So we need an alternative energy portfolio goal in the state of New York. We need, and I think we can create as many as 22,000 jobs, investing in $20 billion or more in a goal on photovoltaic, geothermal, and renewable energies.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ball, a minute on Indian Point and license renewal.
Yeah, their tax hike might goes again. Now he's saying, no, well, we won't close Indian Point. The reality is that he held a press conference outside of Indian Point, said we're going to close it. We're going to replace it with windmills. I guess the windmills are going to go from here to California back and forth 6 or 7 times. The reality is that you shut down that plant, your energy rates are going to go through the roof, and you're going to shut out the lights for Manhattan, for the Hudson Valley, and beyond. It's a ridiculous idea. We have safety concerns, we have environmental concerns, and they must be addressed. My opponent talks about the Fair Campaign Practices Board, which happens to be packed with Democrats, very few Republicans. But at the end of the day, we put together a proposal. He increased spending by over $1 billion, increased property tax by 41%. And he said, oh, but I didn't spend as much as Andy Spano wanted. If Andy Spano is the high watermark of fiscal conservatism, I think you see what's wrong here. The reality is that you had people like George Oros, real fiscal conservatives, in the county legislature fighting to make even deeper cuts. When the times were good and those dollars were coming into the county coffers, they could have provided tax relief and sent those tax dollars back to you and your family. Instead, he increased your taxes and increased government spending.
Thank you, sir. Ms. McBride, a follow-up question for Mr. Kaplowitz only.
Okay, Mr. Kaplowitz, regardless of what happens with Indian Point relicensing or whatever, are there any suggestions if
sure.
you are...
Yep.
Okay.
Very nice of you to share water.
We're two human beings. You're welcome, sir.
The question.
Yes. Are there suggestions that you have, if you are elected, that could provide immediate relief to business and other users for energy costs?
Yes, ma'am. The third part, besides Indian Point, besides the renewable fuels that we talked about, which takes a little bit longer to get up and running, is the demand side. If you save, it takes 118% of energy to come up with 100%. There's an inefficiency. I want smart electric meters and smart grids. California had a small experiment where 2,500 homes had smart meters that told them every time of the day what the cost was and the usage just by looking at a graph, an LCD screen. They were able to save 29% on their energy usage. It's available in New York, but only for McDonald's and above. We need to expand it down to homeowners. That'll save up to 30% energy costs, businesses and homeowners.
Thank you, sir. All right, final question from the panel from Janine Rose. It's going to go to Greg Ball. You'll only each go get 30 seconds to respond because we'll run out of time.
It's a relatively simple one. With the deficits the state is facing, it's clear massive spending cuts will be part of any solution. What will you both look to cut first if you get to Albany?
You know, in the budget that was proposed this previous year, we all know what a nightmare that was. The Democratic-controlled Senate had 32 different budgets and couldn't get anything done. The reality is that I had individuals coming to me, families with special needs children, like autism, and their programs were being cut by 30, 40%. And I had men come into my office afflicted with AIDS. Their programs were being cut by 80, 90%. And meanwhile, we're giving tens of millions of dollars to IBM to offshore and outsource our jobs. I would like to see hiring freeze, a real hiring freeze, and also a real state spending freeze across the board paying, but that's fair. 3% cut across the board.
Mr. Kaplowitz, what would you cut in Albany?
Get rid of consultants, save about $280 to $480 million. Get rid of the pensions, change pensions for new employees only, and get rid of overtime, would save about $2.2 billion over the next 3 years. We need a hiring freeze that would save us between $600 and $800 million. Ask the same people to do more. We need spending caps. We need discipline. I support tax cap and circuit breaker and STAR and unfunded mandate relief for property taxpayers. It is job number one of getting the economy. I'm going to go through, as I did, the 6,000 lines in the county budget. We'll do the same for the state budget.
Thank you, gentlemen.